proudest day, and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears, the rally podcast. Another special following hot on the heels of our RAC rally special. We have the Killarney Historic special as well. But can you please like, share, rate, subscribe, all those things always make a difference, and continue doing what you're doing. I suppose before we start, we should say who we have on this week. We have Jonny Greer and Kirsty Riddick, and Rory Kennedy, Michael McDaid, and then Declan. And then, as well as that, then that's from the historic side of the event. Then from the modified, we have Duggan, Kevin Eves, Chris Melly, and Declan Gallagher. And then a nice wee story then to kind of finish off is Derek James and Martin Brady. Derek, an American guy coming over here, first time competing in the Irish tarmac, and I just think it's a great wee story and good crack as well too. But, you know, great event, Connor, at the weekend there again.
Cracking event. And, you know, as you say, hot on the heels of the RAC, where we were drooling over the social media, looking at all those lovely historic cars, and then great to see them down in Killarney, and a fantastic entry as well. For sure. And the historics is really gaining popularity. You know, we've been championing the historic rally in Ireland for the past year and more now, and the way the popularity of the championship is growing. And like Declan alludes to it whenever we're talking there, like a few years ago, I think there was 40 odd cars started Killarney historic spec cars. That's almost now 70. So like it's getting close to double. And he says there's huge interest from a lot of other competitors, and it's so well supported as well by like English and Welsh crews and all that, who, you know, didn't do the RAC and are prepared to come over and do Killarney. So, you know, Sean Moriarty mentioned maybe like an Irish historic event, like a 3, 4, 5 day event. I think there's something there, Connor.
Oh, I think there definitely is. The seeds have to be sown at this stage for something. And, you know, I'm sure there's plenty of people would love to rally around that, pardon the pun, but to get it up and running properly.
That's for sure. You know, like there's so much good wall out there, and the historic rallying's in such a good place. And we're now starting to see it's not just Mark II. We're starting to see a bit of variety, like, you know, Jonny Greer and the Sierra Donna and the BM and all, you know, which is also great to see as well.
That's it. You know, the more variety, the better. Like, you look at what goes on in Germany at the Eiffel Rally in the summer, and, you know, some of the historic rallies that have taken place. And even from when we were talking to Marty and Barney, you know, what they were saying, that the other, you know, some of them was like, it's going to an old Group B event nearly from the 80s, you know, where you're seeing Lancias and Audis and everything. So it'd be fabulous now if we got that into Ireland.
That's for sure. We can but dream. I think without further ado, we'll catch up with the Historic Brigade from the weekend. Killarney Historics of the weekend. And Jonny, you made it 2-1s. Nice rally for you.
It was. It's always good to go down to Killarney at the end of the year. It's kind of become traditional for us now to finish the year off a nice trip to Killarney and throw the Sierra about a bit. So the last 2 years obviously have been very good, and it was great to be able to repeat it and bring home the trophy again this year. So it's been good. Yeah, we had a good event, and everything went pretty much according to plan. So I couldn't really complain.
Excellent. And Kirsty, you got the call up to return to the co-driver's seat. Was it nice? Did they slot back in beside Jonny again?
It was surprisingly easy. Like it didn't seem like it had been as long as it was, and but we've done so many rallies together that it, you know, over the last 13 years. So I mean, it just was easy.
Yeah, you know, they always say, you know, about riding the bike, once you learn, you never forget. And was it as simple as that? Once you sat in beside him, once the recce started and you had your pencil in your hand, it was natural.
It sounds like a cliche, but yes. It just all seemed to go like it used to. So no complaints from me.
Excellent. And Rory, the BMW roared and got on the best it could, but the 4-wheel drive just seemed to have give Jonny and them that wee bit of an advantage.
Well, I suppose four-wheel drive it was required on quite a few places in that rally, and those times that we could have done with four-wheel drive too. But look, hey, fair play. Jonny and Kirsty drove the perfect rally. They came back from, I think, maybe 11 or 12 seconds down, Jonny, whatever it was at one point, or maybe even 15 seconds down, and come back to win. And, there's no better way of winning than coming from behind like that and just chipping away at it and then getting it on the second last stage and finally won it on the last. So fair play to them. But look, we concentrated on our own rally, Kevin. We went there. We pretty much had a perfect rally. Donna never put a foot wrong, never put a wheel out of place. Everything worked perfectly. Our tire choices, our decision making was all correct, and everything went our way. But we gave it our best shot, and unfortunately, on the day it wasn't enough. But it was very enjoyable, and as I've told you many times before, there's no better car to rally in than a BMW M3. Yeah. And I know Michael and Declan there are escort protagonists, and fair play to them. But boys, I can tell you, the M3 is incredible. And for me, who's rallied them way back in the 90s, it's a great honour and a great privilege to be able to do it again, do it all over again with such a good driver as Donna. And, he showed by good, committed driving. The stage times were very impressive. And, it just shows that he's still got it, like.
That's for sure. And Jonny, as Rory said there, coming from behind, and going into the last stage, it still was a cliffhanger. It was by no means a done deal. Does that bring its own pressures, or do you just have to drive your own rally and forget about everything else?
I think to a certain extent you have to do your own thing. You're always against the clock at the end of the day of a rally. You just have to do what feels comfortable, but certainly we would have preferred a bit of a better margin going into the last stage, especially being in the dark and everything else. But you don't really know. I mean, we dropped a lot of time in the second stage of the rally on on a slick tire, probably in wet conditions, but it didn't feel like you were dropping that much time, and it was very hard to gauge. We felt like we're having good stages, and then Donald was coming back at us and taking time out of us again. So we didn't really know where the pace was, or we didn't really know if anything we were doing was going to be good enough until the times arrived. So even the sort of last stage of the rally was sort of give it our best shot, and the nighttime driving. I love nighttime rallying. I love the atmosphere of it and everything else, but I'm not usually that fast in the night. So I sort of came down through the stage times, and I think we were maybe a second slower than we were in the daylight, and I sort of thought, that could be a problem because Donald could go quicker. And I think he did go quicker than his time, but lucky enough, we just had done enough just to pip it. But yeah, it's sort of at that night stage, you were just sort of like, you just have to take it as it comes. You just have to go and give it your best shot and see where you end up, and that's all you can really do. And that's kind of, I think maybe if we're 0.8 behind going into the last stage instead of 0.8 in front, it may have changed the approach a bit. You maybe would have took a bit more few risks, but we did give it our best shot, and lucky enough, the time was good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Kirsty, the club has to be applauded for taking, the brave decision to run a night stage. There was a lot of work on the club, but I think it paid off in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that rallies become a bit stale if they're just the same every year. I mean, you can go to some rallies and they just churn out the same rally year on year. So it was nice to do something different. And I know you asked about Moll's Gap and things, and yeah, it wasn't the same, but it keeps it fresh, and it makes it a challenge for everybody.
Yeah, probably made it more of a level playing field for everybody as well, because we always hear about the secret of the gap and one thing and another, and been so many people up it so many times that they've almost got it perfected. So to take it away from that, it presents a new challenge, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, it's there's not that many rallies have a dark element. Maybe it would have been nicer to do more than one stage, but I think by the end it was pretty nice to just get finished.
And Michael, no Moll's Gap, but it shows what Killarney has to offer. That yes, it was missed, but it didn't leave a massive void in the rally.
No, I actually thought there was, as someone said earlier, that there was a bit of a leveler, because it took me 4 or 5 times to actually get it. You improve every time you do it. So I've done it 4 or 5 times now, and I thought, they always talk about you can gain 30 seconds or you lose 30 seconds on somebody up there, and I definitely, that's the way I found it. But Killarney Lake was exceptionally good. Like I only done it once the opposite way. I thought it was a superb stage. Really liked it.
Because a lot of people were saying they actually nearly preferred it that way, and it was because the corners were tight and it provided a different challenge.
It's definitely tricky. Like them tight on corners could catch you. And I suppose the wet and the different conditions is tricky. Them tight on corners because you don't know whether the car is going to give or go on around it or just maybe skid off. It's very very easy done. Whereas when it's bone dry, you know that she's going to stick for a certain a lot longer. Like.
Yeah, and like Declan, I suppose then that's where yourself, in the co-driver's seat comes in. Like, you're having to read the notes, but also try and read where Michael's at and where he needs to be pushed and where he needs to be pulled in.
Yeah. Again, Carr Lake is a very busy stage to call, but we had 2 good runs over it. But the second time, we took the bones of 30 seconds off of our first stage time. So like that was just 2 runs over one particular stage. It made an awful difference with the weather, and I suppose confidence was growing. I didn't sit with Michael since the Cork 20, and it does take a stage or 2 to get back in the groove again. But once we got back on it, then we were flying for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm. And Michael, the way you can go between gravel and tar, does it take a stage even to get back into a tar mindset again away from the gravel?
It probably does, I'd say. Well, you still try, yourself. There's just slightly different style, but I can't really explain it to you. You just have to get in and do it. I'll go back to Rory about the M3 there. He was saying we're big Mark II fans. I have to say I thought the BMW was one of the most beautiful cars of the rally. And let Donna know that I'd happily swap him for a day.
You may have to join a queue there, I think.
I would say that, yeah. Might have to sign a petition.
Yeah. But Jonny, the Sierra has been developed now over the last couple of years, and it really has become reliable and fast now as well too, which is important.
It is. I mean, we started the project. I'd say it's nearly 10 years ago now when we first started to make plans to get the car up and running. And the first Killarney we went to, the car was finished. We were still working the car on scrutiny on the Friday of the rally, still trying to finish off bits and pieces. And just, those sort of cars, you're building them, it's old technology and it's old parts you're using. You're always going to run into issues. The first year we finished the rally, and it was just about getting the finish. The car wasn't overly competitive. We were putting up some not too bad stage times, we thought, and we were making progress. And the next year we arrived, the car all of a sudden was quite competitive. I think it was stage 5 or 6 maybe. We actually retired on the road section. The timing belt failed on the engine, and that on the road section, that was the end of that. And then the next year we came back again, have another go, had more problems. But it's all learning. You need these things happen with sort of cars of that age, and we always knew that we're sort of accepted that was going to happen anyway. So when we came back last year, obviously everything run faultlessly. And kind of when we thought we were pushing our luck by going back again to try for a second time round, but yeah, this year every year clicked again, and it was just perfect. So it's rewarding, when you have a car like that doesn't work out of the box, and you have to take it back and try again and try again and try again. It does make it worthwhile. But to be fair, the guys like Muchie Marcus and the guys in DGM have really stood bad and have worked hard at to get up to a stage where the car is now competitive and fairly reliable. So it's it's kind of nice to get to the stage with the car, and it sort of means a lot to us to get it there. And we always, my dad used to rally Sierras back in the early 90s, and the guys used to run into the same kind of problems back then, so they haven't got any better or any worse since.
And I suppose it's not like an escort. You can't go to the man down the road and say, what do you do with this here? It is kind of trial and error, and figure it out yourselves more or less.
Pretty much, yeah. You're relying on the stuff that people remember. You're like, even the people that sort of worked with my dad back in the day. You're relying on their knowledge of how the cars worked back then and all the things you had to look out for and stuff like that. But the cars are starting to become more popular, but you still don't have the same backup you have for other historic cars out there. So, even last week, or we had an issue with, or say 2 weeks ago now, we had an issue with the gearbox, and we had to take it out and send it to England to get it repaired. And this was on the Wednesday. and we didn't get the gearbox back until the Thursday of the rally. So we didn't get back until last Thursday. So that sort of was another thing that sort of caught us by surprise. But it's just, and even the people over in England who are making the gearboxes are saying they're struggling to get parts to keep the things going. So it is slowly coming online. I think if the car gets more popular, you'll see more people. But at the minute, it's kind of, you're just trying to like pick things you can buy off people here and there, and something comes up for sale, you see, you just buy it and put it in the shed, and you think, well, it's going to break that part at some point as well. So that's basically what it is. But I enjoy it. Like, I think it's quite nice to the trade off against sort of modern rallying with modern cars and against the historic car. It is quite nice to do it every once in a while.
For sure. And like, Rory, from your point of view, like the BM has become more popular. Like Mads has really taken it to a whole new level. And like, I think there was one there seen last week, and it's chassis number 44 now. Like the BM has become so popular again. And like, for you, is it like stepping back? Is it like reeling in the years? Maybe that's the way I should put it.
You could say that, Kevin. It's like, don't forget now, it's almost 33 years or so since we were in them cars. Like, so it's a distant memory, really. And as I look around my office here, I'm sure there's a few pictures of her somewhere here on the wall, you know. But like, they're an iconic car from an iconic era. Like, they were the last of the two-wheel drives, really, before you moved into the four-wheel drive era of rallying, you know. And of course, when you saw what Patrick Sayers did in the Manx, and then some of the great runs that both us and Austin McHale had, you know, and then of course the cars in Europe as well that ProDrive ran there, they were incredible cars to have. And that's the cars that Mats van der Brand, the fellow in Holland who builds all these cars, they're built like brand new cars. Like, you get them with obviously 0 miles, but the build quality is incredible, and the reliability is very good, even though we had a couple of issues earlier this year. But by and large, they're very reliable as well, and fantastic car to drive and make fantastic noise. And it's just it's a pleasure to be on them, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm. And like, Kirsty, like, we often hear about, you know, the how relaxed and the good camaraderie, I can never say that word, between all the historic crews and all that. Was it nice to be back and involved in all that as well too?
Yeah, it was. And it was really nice. It sounds really silly, but like, it was so nice for everybody to say, "Oh, it's nice to see you," or "Welcome back," or, you know, I was getting a lot of messages from people after the rally and things, and you think, oh, it's just, you know, it's nice.
Yeah. It just becomes like, again, like you say, slotting in again. Like, it's just, you know, they obviously missed you, but it was good to see you back too.
Yeah. So no, I really enjoyed the weekend. It's I really always enjoy going rallying at Killarney, whether it's in May or December. So you know, I thought the rally was great.
For sure. And like, Michael, this was the kickstart of the, you know, the Tarmac Championship now in 2024. Like, the historic rallying's in a really good place.
Brilliant. It's really took off. Like, mind you, I didn't actually register for the championship this year, because last year I thought I was jinxed, because last year I registered and I ended up hitting a bale and landing beached for 5 minutes. So I says, "I'm just my luck if I do it again." I says, right, I'm not entering the championship to see how I get on. So it's just sod's law, isn't it?
I registered, Kevin.
Yeah, I was going to say, is your co-driver not a bit annoyed with that?
Oh, he's happy enough. He's a bit of a, what would you call this? I can't think of the phrase.
Be careful now. Be careful now.
Maybe shouldn't say it. Like, he's in there a bed with a few different people.
A slapper.
I was going to say Gigolo, but slapper, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Declan, like, you know, you are so heavily involved with the promotion and all of the historic championship, but like, that was some advert for the weekend.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, there was a kind of a rally going on up the front where there was 1 or 2 or 3 racing each other, and then there was a gaggle of escorts, if that's the term, between about 4th place and 10th, and it was fractions of seconds. We were coming off the stages, and how do we get on, and I think we were 6th or 7th in the first stage. The conditions were very, very poor for us. We had a huge downpour just as we were sitting on the line, and we found it difficult to look out the windscreen at times, but got through it anyway, got out the end of it. And one of our service crew was actually in service watching Killian's was it Killian was at the end of one, was watching the video, and he just texted me and he said Tom Davies is after doing a 7:15, and I said to Mike, we're after doing a 7:41, like. So I said we're well out of it now, like. But it turned out to finish that there was a 30-second mistake in the time or something. So we were actually we were right there. We were right there in the mix, but that was a bit downheartening until we figured it out later on. Like, but as the day went on, we settled in, we improved, and we eventually made our way to the top of the escort bunch. But we were still, what was it? We were almost 2 minutes off the 2 leaders at the end, you know. But it's just the way things fell. We kept it nice and clean. Michael drove very well, and we didn't have any huge issues.
Our alternator,
apart from the alternator, gave up at the end of stage 5, and we pulled in to check the fuel in one road section. And when we went to start the car, there wasn't even a click. There was nothing, and panic for about 5 seconds. And then we, in fairness, the next competing car behind us stopped and helped to give us a push. And only for that, we'd be up the middle of a mountain with no phone reception. And but look, that's the way it goes. Some days you get a touch of luck, and some days you don't. So it just happened that was going into Shanra. Shanra was shortened because of an oil spillage, so that was only half the length it should have been. Pushed the car to start to Shanra to get her going, and drove Shanra and straight into service. And we were pox lucky. Yes. So we got it fixed. It was only wire off, and got that sorted out and got to the end, thanks be to God.
Yeah, I think, Michael, as Declan said there, like some days it works for you and there's some days it doesn't, and it's nice to get the wee rub of the green now and again too.
Oh geez, any day you finish is good, but to get a podium is even better, like. And it was great actually, as Declan said, when the first stage was over, he stayed on to the times there. I cannot try and steer my own rally and say, right, I'm just racing myself and nobody else, but and you're listening to the times and you're saying, geez, you know, them Welsh boys they're really quick. It's big competition here today, like, and then you're okay. Then as the day goes on, you're suddenly, well, as he said, we betted in. We suppose we started clicking again, and it's nice to actually finish ahead of them. But I suppose the end of the day is better. The most important thing is to finish and not wreck the whole thing. Like.
I think, as you say, like, you know, you have won Donegal now in Killarney and all too. Like, won the escort part of the thing. Like, that must give you good confidence now that you can go anywhere on either surface and be competitive.
Aye, well, we know it's like everything else. There's a mixture. It can be a mixed bag, and if all the things in the bag go well, you can do well. But they're so temperamental, you know, as just like with like the engine, the throttle bodies, the alternators. Like last year, there was at least 3 or 4 rallies. We had either an alternator wire broke or a battery, and there's something, I don't know whether it's the high vibrations, but I suppose they are old cars. But like the car beats totally, every time she's taken, like the car sent away to the guys who service, and like this go over very, very finely. But it's just that these things happen randomly, like.
Yeah,
nothing you can do about it.
No, and Jonny, you know that more than anybody. Like, you work the way at cars all the time. Like, yes, you can prepare as best you can, but there's always going to be some variable that's going to put a spanner in the works.
It's motorsport, as they say, isn't it? Yeah, I think the likes of, that's what I found with driving the likes of Sierra and stuff. You have to be a lot more mechanically minded with the cars. You have to remember that they can't take the same abuse that the likes of the R5s and stuff can take. Which is sort of, you struggle to get your head around when you start driving them. But yeah, that's just the way it is. You know, back in the day, it would have been the same thing. You know, the guys back when the cars were new wouldn't probably have been as aggressive on them because they knew that the cars couldn't take the abuse. You know, so they learned like probably be a better finesse with the cars. Whereas the sort of cars that I grew up with, more bulletproof, you become a bit, let's say, lazy or ignorant, maybe be the way to say with them. You know, and it's having to remember that. Like even the sort of stuff, some of the jumps in Killarney, you're in the sort of the Rally 2 cars, you're hitting the jumps with the foot nailed to the throttle and just landing, and the transmission, everything takes it. And I think the first sort of jump we came to, and I think it was in Carr Lake in the Sierra, I took it with my foot well into the floor, and when it landed, then I thought, oh, that wasn't a great idea, you know. So things like that, and you sort of think, right, I can't remember not to do that again. But yeah, that's the way they are. It's it is what it is. It provides another element to the whole thing. It's not just yourself you have to worry about. It's the car and look after it, and really all that sort of side of it. So yeah, it's a team effort. It's us in the car, and it's the guys repairing the car as well. If one doesn't do the right thing, the car's not getting the end. Doesn't matter who it is. So it's something you have to learn and just live with, really.
Yeah, and like I spoke to Sean Moriarty last week and we sort of threw the idea out there of like the RAC rally, how popular it was, and like the Circuit Ireland back in the day was the ultimate rally, the ultimate turnback rally in the world. Do you think there would be an appetite out there for a historic rally that would last maybe 3-4 days in Ireland? Maybe Jonny, take that first, Jonny, sorry.
Yeah, I think there would be. I mean, like seeing the success of the RAC has been for years now. I think there is the appetite for that sort of classic, sort of the way the rallies were run. I don't know how it would work logistically, but you have if something like the old circuit, if you're starting in Belfast or something like that, and you're running down to Waterford, Cork, Killarney, back up again. I mean, of course, that would be fantastic. But there would be a lot of things that need to happen between Motorsport UK and Motorsport Ireland to make that happen. But it would. I just don't. I'm just not sure how the 2 or 3 weeks you need to do the recce would work. But I think it'd be fantastic if it was something I'd love to do if the opportunity ever came up to do something like that, a classic route, and let the rally move rather than sort of like the centralized servicing that we're used to now. I think traveling and having your chase and having your sort of your service and moving with the rally would be class. I think it'd be something that there'd be a lot of appetite for, especially people coming from Europe. They're doing those big rallies like sort of like a San Remo Classics and things like that. I think it'd be mega.
For sure. And Rory, like you were fortunate enough to see the circuit whenever it was in its plum. Like was it is it something that you could see happening again, or you think it's end that ship sailed?
Well, the current format rallies gave me as well, and it was totally the opposite to what this concept is of running a 5-day or 4-day rally that sort of traverses around the country, north to south and south back to north again. I mean, I'm not sure how this would work. I think it's a great idea. I think something again I would love to do. I've done the 5-day circuits, the 4-day circuits, and I've done the friggin' 1-day or 8-stage circuits. So I mean, it'll be something. I think it's something. If you're going to do something like this, obviously it'll be for historic cars, and maybe you could do 1 day, say in the north, for example, based in Belfast. I'm just taking this as an example. Then maybe the next day in Waterford, and you're on the stages around Waterford, and then maybe the next day transfer everything over to Killarney and do it there, and then back up north again or up through Galway, and then back north again, and have all the individual clubs in the individual areas, organised their bit of the rally. But it's all very well saying that, putting that into practice would be a major job. But I'm just looking. One thing about this, the RAC rally was oversubscribed with entries there, and as far as I know, it's I could be wrong, Jonny. You could correct me on this, but I think it's about $3,500 per entry fee for the RAC.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's upwards than that. And if you take, I was just looking there, Killarney Historics had 68 entries in the historic section. And I'm just wondering about the feasibility of that. If you took Killarney Historics is probably one of the, well, obviously is the best standalone historic rally in Ireland. And it's only attracting 68 entries. Maybe Declan would know more about this, but you would need more to make it more feasible, to make the project feasible, obviously. But I'm not sure is that a reflection on what you would attract to a major event like a 3, 4, 5 day circuit.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And Declan, what's your thoughts on that one?
Well, if we just go back a couple of years in Killarney, which is the only dedicated historic rally, they were running numbers of 40 to 45 only 5 years ago. So to come from 40 to 45 up to, what did you say, Rory, 68?
68 on the entry list this year, yeah.
So like you're not too far away from doubling there, like in a space of a couple of years. I know over COVID, a lot of fellas built cars and so on, but it's definitely growing year on year. Yeah. Now you still don't have enough to have a historic only rally. You still need a bit of backup from the modifieds, but I'm sure there's a couple of modified men wouldn't turn their nose down at 2 or 3 days inside in the car either. Like, yeah. we're definitely heading that direction. Like there's more and more interest. I got a lot of messages there now since the weekend of fellas looking for specifications for cars, of thinking of building a historic car, and there seems to be a bit of a buzz in it. And it's definitely getting more and more airtime. And even last night we were organising getting a compilation video done of just the historic competitors. Because all the guys that are doing the videos on YouTube and stuff, it's a mix and match of both, which is fine too. But it's nice to get our own historic fellas seen, that every car would be shown at least once, so that at least you have something to take away from the event that you did. So we're kind of building on that kind of stuff all the time, changing bits and pieces in the championship. One of the biggest ones there now for Killarney, people may or may not have known, but some people had power steering in their historic car until this year. But the power steering now is completely out. So before you could get away with having it in your car, there was this bit of a myth that if you had a doctor's cert to say that you needed it, that you could use it. But our opinion always was, if you needed a doctor's cert, you should probably be in class 13 or class 12 or class 9.
Should be in the rocking chair.
But Rory there, look, Rory's nearly 85 and he's still perfect. Why would you need power steering? Like, do you know what I mean? So, it's making it fairer for everyone. A lot of the cars are extremely similar, and the racing is fantastic. And it's hundreds of seconds, like, and I can't tell you how great it is, to be honest. It's fantastic.
For sure. And Kirsty, you've seen firsthand like the RAC rally and the buzz it's creating and all. Like there is a real appetite out there for historic rallying at the moment.
Yeah, I mean the RAC came to where I live on the third day, and the number of spectators that were watching and the number of marshals that they're able to get. I mean, I help run a little rally around here in September, and we really struggled for marshals this year, to the point that we're running 3 stages and we were so short even just the day before. And the same people from our club going out to marshal, they had 62 marshals to go and marshal about 7 miles. I mean, you could nearly start at the beginning and hold hands all the way to the end. I don't know what it is that the RAC has that's special, but people seem to love it.
For sure. And like Michael, what would your thoughts be on like a 3 or 4 or 5 day circuit, and in inverted commas, would that be something that would appeal to you as well?
Absolutely, as long as you get the green card. I might have to bring a few people with me. And have to stay in nicer places than we do stay when we go to England. We'd be Airbnb in the cheapest place we get, yourself.
I'm sure Declan would make sure you'd be well catered for.
You could buy an old camper van, Mick.
I think I need a lorry for you, boys.
Jonny, is the plan in place for 2024 now, or is it for the historics, or is it get the Tarmac Championship over with first?
As you sort of keep saying, that we'll think about over the winter break, but then I sort of realised that actually Galway, there's less of a break between now and Galway than there was between the Ulster and the Killarney Historics. So I've kind of been putting that one away off and off and off. But yeah, we had planned it to be in Galway. It would be the first thing we'll try and do. Tarmac Championship probably be our priority, but we still would like to do more stuff with the historic car. You've sort of just ruled it out for one event, and with a few projects we want to build as well, with things that are in the pipeline we want to get up and running probably next year as well. So more gauged towards historic stuff as well. So that's kind of what we're thinking. But it's not long coming around till Christmas and then prep for Galway and after that. But it feels very far away now. But we really have to start making a more concrete plan.
Yeah, like a fantastic battle at the top end. Like Dono was leading up until stage 6, and Jonny then just started to edge ahead. He was 0.8 then on 7, and then 3.7 seconds at the end or something. It was so close.
That's for sure. And like virtually mirrored in the modified section as well too. Like there was nothing between them there. Like got into the last stage, I think again it was 0.7 of a second as well. Rob Duggan, got it there as well too. like fantastic days rallying from the historics and the modified, and that was also right throughout the whole field. Like, there was great battles going on right up and down the leaderboard. So yeah, I think we'll hear now is from the modified guys here now as well. So Rob, you come back to Killarney Historic this year. You couldn't let Kevin take the title for 2 years in a row. You had to nip it off him again this year.
No, we let away with him last year. We were away in Australia, so didn't get the chance to do the rally. So yeah, look, we knew with the lineup that was there that started the rally, there was 10, possibly 15 people that could have won the rally. We all knew that there was going to be a massive battle no matter who won it. But no, they definitely kept us on our toes, and yeah, it was nice to keep the Killarney trophy down here for another year. But yeah, I'm sure they'll be gunning even worse next year now to try and get it back up the road to Donegal.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And Kevin, you run them close this year, like no gap this year. I thought you probably felt a bit more confident going into the event this year.
Well, I suppose you like to just imagine you're not going to lose about 13 seconds on a stage. I hope, but it was interesting. But as Rob says, hey, there was a serious lineup of lads there, so I suppose you were just hoping that all would work out. You'd come out of the blocks as quick as you could, kind of a job.
And like Chris, you haven't been out since Donegal. Was it hard to even in that first stage? Was there like almost blowing off the cobwebs in the first few miles?
It wasn't so bad, Kevin. We got a couple of mile out in the harvest a couple of weeks before, but not definitely, seat time's king when you're trying to compete and be at the top level there. But we settled in relatively well, and it was with the added challenge of the night stage, which I think everybody was looking forward to, and it was everything, all the expectations were met there. So yeah, it was a great event in general.
Yeah, like the night stage definitely brought a new dimension to the thing, and like that was a big effort by the club, because it's not just a matter of as you were kind of thing. They had to put there was reflective boards. The marshals had to get extra trim. There was light galleries up, and even then the stop and start. It takes a big effort. And in your opinion, do you think it was a worthwhile thing to do?
Oh, definitely. It's one of those things that you don't see often in Irish tarmac events. It's coming into the forestry there a bit now, but it's definitely one of those things that, when you hear about it, you're looking forward to it. And, there's rumours of a rally or two with it next year again. And it definitely, puts an added dimension to the organisers, the level that they have to go to. And then, couple in the amount of spectators were there on the night as well. It was crazy all weekend and all day Saturday. And then, the amount of people and, the flashes of cameras and all going through the stage was actually unreal. It was great.
I think Declan, that it's almost something that you see in like a WRC and all that. The brake discs glowing, the cameras flashing and all that. Is that nice buzz inside the car as well?
It has most of the time, until you're sixth gear and you can't see him firing up ahead of you. It is different, but when you get up to speed, it's difficult to see, maybe some of the boys had light bars and stuff on, but I only had a couple of spots. They were grand, but when you get up to high speed, it was difficult enough to see ahead of you. But it's definitely different, and it was cool enough, to get to do it. Like Killarney's normally the only place that you get to do night stages. Probably we've done them before, I suppose, in many stages here in Donegal. But no, it was good. It was different, and as Chris said there, it takes a lot of work from the club to pull something like that off, and thank God it went well for them.
Yeah, I think Rob, everybody is saying about the crowds this year. Like Killarney, your hometown and all that. Great to see the reward being paid back. The amount of work they put in this year, and the crowds and the ceremonial start. It's the start of Christmas in Killarney, really, isn't it as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the crowds were well up, even from the start ramp all the way to the finish ramp. The second last run there of Rockfield, the first run through it, I don't think I've seen crowds like it in a long time around, and it was that way all day. There was people popping out of hedges everywhere, and yeah, it's great to see, and I'm sure it's like everyone else. That's what we want to see. We want to see a big crowd out watching and try and entertain them with a good battle as best as we can.
Yeah, and going back, I was watching your interviews there with Kelly and Andy. Like after the first two stages, the head was down a bit, and I think Jer had to have a word with you and get you get it up again to go back out again.
Yeah, definitely. It was a tough morning. We were going out the road from service, and the window wipers packed up, and that was just kind of the start of the bad reaction. But we got a bit of Rain-X on the window, went out to the first stage, and kind of said, "Look, we'll just go, and if there's a shower of rain, unfortunately, that'll be us, and we probably won't be able to drive through it." But we kind of got away lucky enough. We got through the first three. We weren't a million miles away. We were tit for tat for Kevin and Declan. Connor was that bit up the road a small bit from us all, but at the end of the day, Connor spun on the third stage, and it just brought it down very close again. So just proved anything was possible. So we just kind of said we go back to service, change a few clicks. We actually found out we'd have been steering rack as well just when we got back to service, and we changed that and got that up and going, and just decided, look, we'll go out and try again, and we'll play around with the car a bit, see can we get it some way more comfortable. And yeah, we went out the first stage. I think we put in a good enough time that we said, right, we can make some shape at this rally again, and just kind of got the head down a bit, and yeah, just kind of went from there. We had a couple of other issues during the day, but yeah, thankfully, even Kevin pushed us, and Declan and all the boys, they pushed us off the finish ramp to give us a jump with the car. So yeah, it's only with all these boys around the place. It just shows it's all down to stage times, and we'll all help each other trying to get to the finish of any rally. So yeah, it was. I was on a tour up for a bit as well. So thanks to Daniel McKenna for getting me back in the road. And look, it was just good. The whole weekend was good from start to finish, rallying wise. Once it's a battle, I don't think you can get much closer. 0.7 of a second going into the last stage, trying to keep a Donegal man behind you. Sure, not an easy task by any means, but
No.
we tried our best.
Yeah, and Kevin, that we should mention, Rob mentioned in there, Conor Murphy. This guy is only at the top table now for probably a season and a half. He is he is getting some real pace going there now at the moment.
Oh, definitely. Connor had a couple of big times. Like I suppose even when we would have seen we come in through the line that Connor, we knew Connor was going to be quick, but now even I didn't probably think we were going to be 15 seconds down Tuesday. So when I thought Rob was staying kind of around us, the next thing Connor, he was another bit up the road again. So Connor was going class. It's the same thing. Killarney, I think Killarney does bring that pace. Like I suppose even us, we were happy. We kind of sharpened ourselves back up. Declan kind of gave us a right licking in Donegal in the harvest, so we were kind of happy to be back on the sharp end. And like sure, how the whole day was there, almost all swap play. It was all within 10 seconds of everybody nearly the whole day, so it was class.
Yeah, I think, Chris, that must be some buzz inside the car. Like 3 of you, 4 of you really, and like 10, 12 seconds separating you all day. Like you can't afford to miss a note. They can't afford to miss like an apex of a corner. Like it's got so precise.
Yeah, it has. And suppose like there's more crack between the stages between the competitors than nearly as on the stages, and slagging and the banter goes on between us all. But it's really enjoyable and it's great to be part of it.
Mm-hmm. And we keep hearing about the way there's no man left behind, and that's the same for everybody, whether you're first in the road or 12th in the road or wherever. Like it's get every man to the finish of the rally. We'll have the battle on the stages.
Well, that's it. Like Rob forgot to tell you there, we did push him onto the ramp as well as off the ramp there. But, that's what it's all about.
To help do the ramp.
Rob, I was saying you're lucky you didn't get a twin kiln just pushed into the bitter.
It was very close. Just going for the finish ramp, I think I'd say he was fairly tipped to the right. But after not putting a marker on it all day, to be ashamed to break the back bumper off and go for the finish ramp. But I'm very, very grateful of the push. So yeah, it was good.
For sure. And Declan, we spoke there, at the harvest, and you just, you were a wee bit weary. You knew you had good pace in the harvest and the fast net, but you were wondering, like, will it go to Killarney and will there be a wee bit that I haven't got? I think you showed that you have the pace still yet.
I we're happy enough now. The pace, like it was still a right bit off Conor Murphy, like it was close racing there at the weekend. Like I think ourselves and Kevin and Chris came off a couple of stages there, maybe in the same second. Like, and no, it's nice to continue on into Killarney because like the pace always goes up that bit when you have all all the boys there, and when the racing starts to get going, like one man starts pushing another man another bit, and it sharpens you up. Like it was good crack now again.
Mm-hmm. And like how do you do that? Like, is it just pull the belts that wee bit tighter and just leave the braking that wee bit later and put on the power that wee bit sooner? Is it just a combination of a wee bit everything?
You just have to. I don't know. It probably is. Leave the brake, try and get your brake in that bit later, and just keep the boot in for a wee while longer in places and stuff. That's probably just when it starts to get going, like you have to push it if you're getting if you're in the back foot, you have to push it on another bit.
Mm-hmm. I think I just can't get over how close you can come off like a 10-12 mile stage and be matching each other to within a second. Like that is mighty racing.
Aye, it leaves it exciting, like as I said, like you just kind of push that wee bit harder and try that bit harder the next stage, and it's good crack, like.
Yeah, and like Kevin, there was no gap this year, like, and I think that rally showed that Killarney's more than Moll's Gap. But it's at them other stages were every bit as good and if not better. Everybody was saying Moll's Gap; they nearly preferred it that way, running that way.
Moll's Gap's a wild, funny stage, and I don't know if it's like if Declan or that would see the same. Like, I feel like some days you'd come off Moll's Gap, and it's kind of like when it's such a white line road. If somebody came off it and said 10 quicker or you were 10 slower than the next man, you kind of you could see where you lost it. Or some of them other stages, you kind of feel like, where did that go? There's so many pinpoints and corners on the white lines. You kind of get to the end and you nearly get to the finish line and you don't know if it was a good time or a bad time, But okay, we love going up Moll's Gap. Like that's one of the best roads in the country. It is class. It's just that one when you put Rob and even like let's say Connor and them by now, like it's hard to do it, in a way. But like we've done it enough times. I know my way up it. I just don't. I just couldn't do it without notes of that, or that's just the reality. Like, but I've been up the gap as much as I've been up roads in Donegal, that kind of way. So
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah. And like Rob, like you are the gap specialist. What is it about that road? Like I know it's on your doorstep, but like is it, in your opinion, one of the best stages in the country?
Look, it's definitely one of my favourite stages, and I suppose that's evident enough by every fella. I suppose I spent long enough going up and down in Starlets when I was a young fella, trying to get every line and every corner 100% right, and spent a fortune going up and down there, and there's no hiding it. I do know it like the back of my hand, but I suppose it's like anything, you still have to jump in and drive up there. And when the gap wasn't running this year, I was kind of saying, right, if I don't make some shape at this rally now and make some go at trying to win it in a way, I said everyone will be saying, sure, it's all of Luke, it's all on Moll's Gap. So when we were kind of down a bit after the first couple of stages, I was kind of saying, Jesus, we're going to have to pull the finger out here somewhere. And yeah, look, luckily enough we did, but it was nice to get to win with no Moll's Gap just to kind of quieten it some bit in a way. But I suppose every country will still say that we're blackening stages around our place. You just have to take that with a pinch of salt. And look, look, I love Moll's Gap. I go up and down it every year. But when they said they weren't running it, I was happy with the club that mix it up and see with a couple of boys that would say that sure, Moll's Gap is on. There's no point going down there. Look, anyone can win it. Anyone can go up the gap quick. Declan, Kevin, Connor, they're all not slow up Moll's Gap. There's no fella going to take fucking. Yes, we might get away with 10 seconds sometimes, but you won't get away with it the second time up there. They're always on the boil the second time, and it's there's no let slow up there. It's not like anyone's going to run away with it. But yeah, we'll definitely be trying to coax them to bring it back for next year if at all possible.
For sure. And like then, Carroll Lake, the amount of crews are coming off at the end of the stage and saying that's fantastic stage there, going that way, the way that the corners tightened and all. And it's funny that just running the stage in reverse can change the whole characteristics of it as well.
Yeah, 100%. We actually talked about it during the rally. I personally said I like it the other way a bit better, but I think Kevin was saying it, and one or two others were saying they actually like it the way it ran there. But like that, it was just a mix up. I think I did it in 2013 in a Civic going that way or something, and I haven't been back that way since. And it's it just threw another spectacle to the rally that it leveled out the playing field that little bit more, so it was good.
For sure. And Chris, like we mentioned there a while back, about the ceremonial start and all, like that, to bring it into the town centre. We keep saying in this podcast about bringing rally into the people. Killarney do that in spades.
They totally do. It seems to be the start of the Christmas festivities down there, and it's like a carnival. It's a festival. And I think that on the Sunday then after the rally they turn on the Christmas lights. Like it's the crowds about that town on the Friday evening was crazy. And again, it's something I think the other clubs are leeching onto there with the Garda ceremonial starts and stuff. But I think between the historics and the one in May as well and the international, like Killarney really have it mastered there at the moment. And there's a lot to learn from it.
That's for sure. That is for sure. And like Declan, that is you're confident now the pace is good and all. Is there any thoughts now going into 2024, or is it pick and choose your events?
I'll see what happens now, but my line of work now at the minute it'll probably be Killarney in May by the time I'll be fit to come out to something again, But that's probably the plan. Do Killarney and maybe a national rally or two, if at all possible, before Donegal. And we'll see then. We'll make a plan after Donegal then again.
Yeah. And it's already, the thought process is already turned to Donegal, and we're not even at Christmas yet.
Well, it's only 6 months now to Christmas, as they say. But no, look at you. That's I would like to be in Galway. I'd like to be in West Cork, but it's not possible. So look at we just look after every rally. I suppose you're looking to see when you can go again. And realistically speaking, it'll be Killarney in May. And I would look forward to that. Anyway, Killarney's always class to come to rallying.
Yeah. And Kevin, are you any thoughts for 2024 yet, or is it kind of get Christmas over you first?
I think we can always nearly do this, even though we don't plan it. We kind of go to Galway because it's the first one, and then West Cork's always a brilliant rally. We love going down there for Paddy's weekend, and Killarney, we always love going to Killarney, especially see when it goes down to Castletown by Riddick. I think some of them stages down there are just they're class, but so I always go to Killarney, and then your Donegal always rolls up. Maybe try and get a national in between it or something. Seems to be the way it's been a couple of years. So we'll probably carry that on next year, I would think. So.
Chris, you'd be happy enough with that plan?
Yeah, and then everything usually falls apart after Donegal.
And Rob, from your point of view, you don't really tend to commit to championships. You just seem to pick and choose the events you want to do. And you enjoyed your trip over to Belgium earlier in the year. Would that be something you would see yourself maybe doing a few more European events?
Yeah, it was a good week away up there, writing off 2 cars outside the Ricky car and the rally car. But besides that, it was a great week. Oh, it was good. It was just something different, and we were even talking about it the weekend, all of us, that if we were all committing to go somewhere, I think we'd all show up, and that's the place where we all want to be. There's no fellow wants to be there when you're racing 1 or 2 lads. You want 7 or 8 lads there, that if 2 or 3 lads have mishap, you still have 4 or 5 to race or whatever. I think that's kind of the census between every one of us, that it's the battles we want to go to. It's not so much the rallies, but I'll just kind of pick and choose. I'd be thinking I don't think I'll be in Galway. It'll be a bit of a push, but I suppose like that I'll have to try and be out in Killarney again. My annual 2 events in Killarney every year. Stay close to home is the only trick. But look, I'd probably try to be out for Killarney again. Other than that, if anything else pops up, I'll see. We just get the car back together now and find out the couple of problems that are there with it and get them fixed and see where we go from there. But I'd say it'll probably be March or April before I even think about bringing it out again. And like that, I'll just pick and choose after that. I've done the championships years ago, and it's just kind of pick and choose now and enjoy it and go for a good race and go home and talk about it. That's kind of all we want.
So thanks there to Rob, Kevin, Chris, and Declan. Great chat there as always, So I said that before we, at the start of this here, we caught up with Derek James and Martin Brady. Derek coming over here, new to Irish tarmac, done a couple of days testing, well, a day and a wee bit of testing, and unfortunately broke down on the second stage. But going to Martin, there's definitely talent there, and by the sound of things, he's coming back. So I think we'll hear from them.
So basically, growing up in the U.S. as a kid that loves rally, my local rally was Susquehannock Trail Performance Rally, and I grew up going to that every year. And European rally was always like just that, U.S. rally was here, and then European rally was like up here, and then Irish rally, Irish tarmac rally was like above European rally. It's just, it's just kind of like the mecca of rally, and the competition level is so high. And so to get the opportunity, I came over to crew at this event last year with Kyle Tilley. And after the event, and Martin was there, we were having breakfast with Kyle and at a hotel before our flights out. And Kyle offered up the opportunity for me to come over and drive. And I think my jaw hit the table, and I look over at Martin, and Martin kind of gave me this little smile, and that was it. I couldn't pass it up. So
yeah, and like Martin, we know the respect that Irish crews have in the American Championship, so it's nice to almost return that favour and bring one of them over this way and show them what we have here.
Yeah, it was good last year. I had met Derek before the era days when Derek started out in his R2 Fiesta. So I knew of Derek's rally pedigree, but he had never, previous to Killarney last year, I think he had never been to Ireland before, certainly hadn't been to an Irish rally. And as he describes it, we were having breakfast after the rally, just reminiscing back and what a good rally it was. And in fact, it was Kyle's first Irish rally as well, and everyone on the team enjoyed it. And Kyle said, well, we'll have to come back. And when it was discussed to come back, there was no question it was to come back to Killarney. So yeah, that's where we ran with it. And took us a year between one thing and another to pull it together. There's a lot going on in the racing side of things for all of us. So, Derek works on the racing team as well, and he did some rallies himself during the year. So we looked at coming back for Killarney in May, but that just it couldn't line up. So the next thing then was to come for the historics, and we made it happen. We came in a car that Derek would know, not a historic car, but a modified car, because we got that car for Rally Legend last year. Really good car, paddle shift, Duratec, a modified Mark II Escort, but not typical of what we would be used to here in Ireland with Millingtons and so on. It's a little bit different. Still, nonetheless, a very good car. Has been driven by such luminaries as Matt Edwards in the past, so it had good pedigree. Kyle and I took it to Rally Legends and had great fun in it, and the plan was to get it for Killarney, and that's what happened. Derek flew from the US, picked it up in the UK, drove it over, brought it to Donegal, where it was looked over and got a little bit of re-prep ready for the event by Hanlon Motorsport there in Letterkenny. Drove it a little bit last, I think it was, I don't remember the days because I came directly from the RAC straight to the test. We did just a quick test in it, and then before we knew it, we were in Killarney doing recce. And I very much enjoyed that. Derek has been an integral part of the rally team for us in the US, and he's always been there. He's always been in our corner. So it was nice to sit in a car with Derek as the rally driver, and we had good fun. We enjoyed recce, particularly Cara Lake. That's, even for a tourist, that road is picturesque. Would be quite used to it myself. from having rallied it many times. So it seems we view it just as a stage, but you forget for a tourist like Derek, it looks wonderful. I spent most of the time showing him, that was Eamon Boland's corner, that was Ray Breen's corner, this is Alan Ring's jump, things like that. It wasn't, there was no mention of the lakes or the mountains, but it was quite a picturesque morning, actually, even for me, when I'm used to mountains here in Connemara and snow-capped mountains that we see at this time of winter. And Derek very much looked like looking at the snow-capped mountains as we were going out to recce. He was quite picturesque and poetic recce, if I can say.
I think we actually had more turns with a name attached to it than a number.
Yeah.
Every time, like, oh yeah, in this year, so and so wrecked here, and we can't go off there, and yeah, and that was a huge part of having Martin in the car as well. Is like just the local knowledge. I don't. It would be very, very, very difficult to come here without at least one person on your team that has, some previous Irish rally experience. And to do anything at all, without that would be just, almost impossible. So.
And just another wee thing I want to pick up on, it shows the mark of the man that Kyle Tilley is, that was prepared to hand you a car, go and rally for the weekend. Like it's not everybody will do that for you either as well. Yeah. Kyle's a phenomenal person, really. Ever since I got to know him through work. I mean, I started just as a mechanic working for him, but we've come to be good friends, and he's the first person there whenever anybody needs anything. He's the first person there. But on top of that, he's always looking to help people out and make things possible. And I find it quite weird that, so when the whole thing started, he said, you'll take the Escort, and I was thinking he meant the historic car, but no, he meant the absolute monster of a car. And he's like, no, you're not taking the historic car. That means too much to me, but I'll let you take the one that has a lot more power and a lot more expensive bits and all that, which is crazy to me, but it makes sense to him. So I'm not arguing with that point whatsoever. Yeah. But. And the first time you get into that crazy car and put your foot down, like coming from a Fiesta, was it a bit of a culture shock? Yeah, there was a lot. I think there was a couple of 4-letter words that came out of my mouth first. Just how fast it is, and then on the paddle shift, like it was my first time with a paddle shift as well, and just you take off and the car kind of like settles down, and you can just climb up through the gears, and they're all right there just beautifully. You don't have to take your hand off the wheel, and it's just incredible. What an experience it is. Every time I got to drive, and I didn't even do that much testing, but I didn't feel I really needed to. Number one, you see people sometimes that test too much and then they have an incident, it's always that, one more run, and that's something you never want to say. So I pulled it in after a run, and I got out, and I was like, you know what, I think that's it. Before, I still want to have a car for the rally, so I think that's it. We're good, but it's just an incredible car. For sure. And Martin, the guys at Hanlon Motorsport give you a car, set the car up for you, and that means a lot for somebody coming fresh into Irish tarmac that has a car up below them immediately that they feel comfortable with.
Yeah, and because even for Derek, coming from the US, there was still a parochial touch to it, because Derek would have worked with Kenny in the US on Paul Rowley's car, so it was a very familiar fit. Nobody had to get used to each other, so Derek knew how Kenny worked, Kenny knew what Derek wanted, so it was very simple. It all just happened very simply. And even as Derek alludes to there, Kyle saying you can take the car, it was never an empty promise. It was always it's going to happen, and we knew it was going to happen. So that was good. I had a little bit of familiarity with the car from being in it before, but for Derek, it would have been a bit of a culture shock. Not least of all, just the little things like the paddle and that. But I have to say, I know we only got one full stage in, 75% of a stage in Anger, and that's a whole other story. But Derek impressed me on how he drove. Guy's never driven tarmac, never driven an escort, never driven something with that much power with the clock on him. Slippy Irish tar, having never made notes for Irish tar before. And his notes are a little bit different, I would say. I think some of his distances are a bit aspirational, but we clicked into those that were fine. And there was one bit on the first stage where we had a particular section through a farmyard, very well cautioned that it was, it was slow and coming down to it. And we're halfway down the straight, and Derek says, I'm losing brakes. The video's there for all to see. And we all know that it had a happy end, and he coped with it quite well. There's not many people would remain as calm when you're heading into an Irish farmyard with plenty of matter on the road, let's say, and walls of a silage pit and all those things knocking around you, and you haven't as much brakes as you like. So he was an absolute star, and also an absolute star when he did realize that he had no brakes, and it was never a question of losing his cool or anything like that. He was just cool as could be. How long to go? We'll just drive this thing out of the stage. We're not going to do anything crazy. And that was great. And even when we retired, it was one of the more amusing retirements we had. We had a warning come up in the dash, and we knew there was a temperature problem. We later traced it to a water pump issue, but we weren't sure at the time. So it was straight away, let's shut it down. We'll pull in here. We don't want to head into the unknown and damage something. And we pulled up beside an Irish family that were there, a mother and father and a little boy that were up on the hillside spectating. They came down to see us, and Derek gave them a discussion on NASCAR. And I don't want to steal Derek's story, because this is a brilliant story, and it even got discussed amongst some of us down the back of drivers' briefing. Derek, tell them about the hat and just how significant and how special and how American the hat was.
So pretty much all weekend, I had a Dale Earnhardt Sr. hat that I was wearing around, just to try and channel any kind of American motorsport energy over here in Ireland. And I even whispered to Martin at one point, I said, I want to just be as American as I possibly can be this weekend. If I can just make at least one Irish person mad just by them looking at me and saying, oh, like, that American, like, just that American over there. So I was wearing around a senior hat, and it ended up not really working out, much energy from it, but I was proud to do so. And if you don't know who Dale Earnhardt Sr. is, he's redneck God, redneck God, and then Dale Earnhardt Jr. is redneck Jesus to NASCAR folk back in the U.S., which in Irish rally is really your guys' NASCAR, so.
Yeah, and like that, that family that that was there and just pulled in, like, that's going to be a lifetime of memories that wee boy is going to have. He's going to look back in 40, 50 years time and go, there was this crazy American pulled in,
I think to that point, I think a lot of people didn't even believe us that, I introduced Derek as, this guy has come all the way from Pennsylvania. He works for ERA, he works in the race team. Kyle has given us the car for this weekend. People were, like, we met Kevin Gallagher, who's a good friend and a guy I've sat with. And he's sort of talking to Derek, but he's looking at the one side to me like, you've brought this guy to drive, a 2-point whatever escort in Killarney in the winter for his first rally. None of them could really believe. I don't think everyone thought the story sounded that little bit bizarre. I don't think they thought we were telling the truth. And again, Derek can speak to that as to what some of the responses he got from people. Like Niall McCullough was another one, another historic guy. Niall, who was a guy I've sat with before, Niall from Oma, more familiar to Evos and R5s, and he bought a historic escort and was wondering what he was doing, sort of questioning the wisdom of it. And then I said, well, this guy's come from Pennsylvania, and Derek will give you just a taste of some of the responses people were giving him.
Well, so it actually was very unsettling. Not a single person was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Everyone gave me the craziest look when we explained to him the situation. So when Martin was giving me, the 3, 2, 1 before we start the stage, playing back in my head is just all of these like crazy looks and the what is about to happen, like, and on top of that, when we're going in to start the stage, there was some stops here and there, and some people were coming back and they're like, oh, like it's a bit slippy, and that morning people were coming to me and they're like, hey, like it's really, really slippery out there. Like you need to move your braking points back and all that stuff. But I don't have any reference to like what my braking point would be anyway. Like it meant nothing. But yeah, it didn't help. So Dale Earnhardt Sr. was known as the intimidator, and I was quite intimidated. So the hat didn't help me out there either. Normally the hat would be on the other end of that, but yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
And like we often hear about the camaraderie between the modified guys and Ireland and historic guys and all that. Was there like a welcome there for you as well too?
Oh yeah, everyone was glad to have me out, and I made quite a few friends, but still on top of it, everyone was quite shocked that I was going through with it still, even after all of the warnings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you got the test here in Donegal. Actually, it was just a few miles up the road from where I'm sitting here now. Like that piece of road can be quite intimidating because there's a bit of everything in it. There's it's fast, it's choppy, and like that was probably a good introduction. Like whenever you drove that road for the first time, was it like, what have I let myself in for? Almost kind of here.
Yeah. So when we got up there, we actually did two separate tests up in Donegal. One on Wednesday and one on Thursday. Wednesday I didn't get much time in just because by the time we got up there and all that, it was getting dark. But it was actually icy. The road was icing over. So the first time I actually got to drive the car with any sort of anger, I was on ice, and the rear end, like it was black ice at that, so you didn't really see it. And then fortunately, I was able to do a quick little run out with Colin O'Donoghue. He also was on our team, and having him in the car, and the whole time he was like, "Oh yeah, back off here, like that's shiny, that's not, that's go left, get left here," like trying to help me pick some lines and stuff, and that was awesome. So, yeah. Yeah, it was, but even the test was intimidating. But the bit of road we were on the second day, shorter. It was up on like a windmill farm area. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm saying. Well, probably not. There was windmills and sheep, so that doesn't really narrow it down.
Yeah, that's covered a lot of Donegal.
Yeah. We were up there on that road, and that was a lot of fun. That was a really great bit of road. So.
Mm-hmm. And like you talked about Colin and them guys stepping in to give you help and advice as well too. Like it's not every sport that your opposition will help you out as well.
No. Well, and that's something that I think you see worldwide in rally, like in maybe less at the top level, maybe more. I don't know. I've never been there, but in rally, everyone's right there to help out all the time. Whatever you need, it's a community to where. And I grew up doing some dirt track racing and stuff like that a bit, and that is very, very different there. No one's there to help you. You're against each other, and at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is. So, but.
Mm-hmm. And like Martin, like that is probably a thing that is prevalent right throughout rallying. Like the saying goes, you race against the clock, but whenever the clock's ticking, sometimes friendship goes out the window. But it's nice to see that other guys are prepared to help out Derek there when he was trying to find his feet.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when we came out of the first stage, and we were out of the car seeing what we could do about our brake issue, there was even people that stopped and asked, were we okay, or did we need some help, or other competitor just stopped where we were pulled in on the hard shoulder to check on us, and that was it's I guess what I'm used to here. You would I won't say take it for granted, but you expect it. It's sort of it's just how it is. And yeah, it was nice that there was that side of it that people, wanted to stop and help Derek, and people wanted to see him go. And we ended up on. I have to say, we started. Let's say not ended up. We started on the reserve list for the rally, and it took us a couple of days to click down. But I must thank the club and one person in particular in the club that was, letting me know at every available opportunity when someone had dropped out and how close we were to getting, because they had an appreciation of how far Derek was coming and what he was undertaking to get there. So yeah, that was good of them. It shows the popularity of the event, the level of the reserve list that they had, and I think we've been in a bit of a golden month for historic rallying at the moment. With the RAC, it is very popular. It's there's a light shone on it. It's a little bit different to other rallying at different levels, and it's bringing out the spectators, because there was definitely a big crowd in Killarney this weekend. I would have to say it seemed like it rivaled what you would expect there to be there in May for the international. So yeah, it shows the popularity of the event and the place it holds in the calendar. For me, it's the last rally of the year. I don't think there's anything else planned or anything else we can do. So it's a nice way to bookend the year. The fact that the rally runs on Saturday, and people have a bit of time to stay on Sunday, so on. You don't have to be work. You're not just leaving the rally and going back to work. So it's a nice way to finish. And I have to say, great for the club the way they put it together. It was nice.
Yeah, for sure. And like Derek, from your point of view, you've tasted the fine Irish tarmac, and it didn't last too long. Is there a desire there to come back and try again?
Oh, 100%. Honestly, I'm not even thinking about US Rally right now. I just want to come back over here. It's great, and the way honestly the way everything's organized, and it's just the organizers here, I guess, would have a lot more experience because they put on a lot more rallies, and but the organization and the emphasis on safety here is huge, which really really is a big thing to me. Not that ARA, American Rally Association, doesn't look at safety. That's definitely not the case. But in the driver's briefing, just to touch on this, in the driver's briefing, they had a physician there to talk to us about, okay, this is what happens, when you're first to the car, to an accident. These are the steps. You check for this, you check for that. And they had PowerPoints to go over, all of the different safety aspects. To where a driver's briefing in the US is, don't speed in transit, be safe, but don't speed in transit, don't do this, don't piss off the locals. To where here the locals are so much involved that they emphasize safety, and it's just it's a different level, and yeah, awesome. Can't wait to come back.
Excellent. Well, thank you both very much for taking the time to join us. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Kevin. And again, I've got to say thank you to Derek for, it was probably one of the best single stage rallies I've ever done. And I've done a few. We had a great blast, and we even had a great blast on Recce. And it has to be said, for a man to come and even just to Recce in a right-hand drive car, and then jump into that car, he did really well. He gave a great account of himself, and I look forward to when the stars align and we have an opportunity to do it again in the future. I know we will. Kyle's already been talking to us. We were barely back in the service area, and we both saw that we had been added to a group chat, and the name of the group was Derek Broke My Escort. Okay, that's right. Let's go again. When are you going to do this again?
Yeah. I was going to say. Yeah. The first message in that group chat was an opportunity to break his escort again. Yeah. So he must not be too upset. But that
goes back to what we said earlier, the mark of the man, from his, straight away he's thinking, get this man back again, so.
Well, I know he was sitting on the pit wall in Sebring. The team had a race in a historic style race in Sebring on Saturday when we were they were just, would have been just starting for them. They would have been just up, and he was on looking for times and stuff like that. But he didn't miss the opportunity to make a joke out of it. I think we'll keep that one for a while. I was very tempted to set up a website, www.derrickbrokemyescort.com. Might happen, yes. Actually, we were gonna. I must say, I don't know if Derek has noticed it yet, as Derek's driving the car back to the UK before he flies back to the US. I may have written something along those lines on the back of the trailer. We did consider. We thought for a moment about writing, and I'll leave you on this note. We did consider writing "Dead Escort" inside on the back of the trailer. But that just might get him pulled over. We might get an extra special search if we wrote that. So we didn't. We wrote something else a little bit more sanitized.
I took a quick walk today to get some lunch. And on the way back, if you're driving I'm in Swords, north of Dublin, and there's a roundabout there. And if you're driving around the roundabout by the hotel that I'm at, it is very clear what the back of the trailer says from across the road. You see big letters, "Broken Escort" inside. So at least no thieves would steal it because it's already broke. But yeah,
there you go, theft prevention. I knew there was a reason for it.
Yeah.
So thanks to Martin and Derek there, and what can we say? This Kel Tillyman, a legend, like he wants the two guys back in the car again soon, so I think that's going to be one worth watching, So that was the Killarney Historic Rally special. Until next time, take care, speak soon, and bye.